Okay. All right, Rabbi Isai. So tonight's shir, although Shalom dedicated the whole Sanhedrin, but he wanted to dedicate specially on his mother's yahrzeit. I want you to know that his mother and his father, for many, many years, played ball together. And it was really a nice thing to see a husband and wife team. It was really very nice. So Shalom is sponsoring this year especially Le'ilui Nishmas Rivka Bas Reb Yaakov Yosef on her yahrzeit, her neshama should have an aliyah. She should be a militzi yashara for her family, for all of us and all of Klal Yisrael. It always gives us chizik to see the special Mesiras Nefesh of our Chabura. If you look, you'll see that Nachman is joining us from his hospital room. You'll see the heart monitor right over his head. And why do you think the Rabbeinu Shalom gives refuah? Learning is the best way to get refuah. So we learned special for Nachman, Yaakov, and Sarah. He should have a refuah shalem b'sei shachal Yisrael. We're co-sponsored by the Zepkowitz family in honor of their parents, co-sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Eddie Chazan. Refuah shalem for Shoshana Bas Penina and Simone Bas Rochel, co-sponsored by Binyamin Rivlin. Lila Nishmas Yitzchak Ben Avram Yehuda Levi. We're co-sponsored by Shelley Zeitlin for the schus of Eli, Orit, and Ora. By Berak Gowas, the Refuah Shalema from Moshe Meir ben Esther Fadl and Dov Meir ben Chaya Gittel, HaKos HaTov to the Shir, and by Shalom Fogel, Lina Nishmas Yaakov Zev ben Yehuda Aryeh, Tzivya Miriam Bas Gad, and Yosef ben Tzia ben Yaakov Zev, and of course, like we said, for Rivka Bas Reb Yaakov Yosef. We are holding now in the sugya of comparing. The Torah says the laws of a stepdaughter, a step-granddaughter, and we're comparing it versus his relatives. So the Gemara, we know that, of course, a man is not allowed to sleep with his daughter-in-law, kalosai. And if he sleeps with his daughter-in-law, there's an issur skila. But he is allowed to sleep with his stepdaughter-in-law if his stepson dies. But the Gemara says, well, why don't we compare the two? And we are holding 4 lines from the top of Ayin Vav Amud Aleph. Imahu kalosai asura, just like his daughter-in-law is forbidden. That's true even if his son dies. Afhi kalasa asura. We should say that a stepdaughter-in-law should also be forbidden, since we're comparing the two. Amar Abaya, so Abaya says that's a pasuk. Amar Kra Eishes binchahi. The reason why she's forbidden is because the wife of his son, Mishum Eishes bincha ata mechayve, you're only mechayev here is Barry, I told you. Eishes bincha ata mechayve, you're only chayev because it's the wife of your son. V'yata mechayve Mishum Eishes b'no, but you're not chayev for the wife of a stepson. That's the way Abaye learns. Rava says, again, the analogy is not tenable. And if you remember yesterday, we said that there's a machloikis, whether we say doin mina umina or doin mina v'ukei ba'asra, which we explained, is whether we say that we learned something out from one family and we take its laws over to the other family, or we say don mina v'ukei ba'asra, or we say that we learn out the detail, but then we put it back in its place and we give it the rest of the rules of the place that it returns to. So, okay, these are just words. As we welcome in Chaim Lerner, it's great to have you. we'll now see how this manifests itself in our case. Rav Amar Bein Lamandi Amar Dain Mina, whether we learn out from the second family all of its minutiae. Bein Lamandi Amar Dain Mina, we just learned the detail. Then the Ukei Ba'asra, we put it back in its place and leave it with the rest of the halachas of its own place. Lo Yasya, we can't learn out that a stepdaughter-in-law is forbidden from a daughter-in-law. Lamandi Amar Dain Mina. Well, what are we going to say? Mahu kalase asura, just like his own daughter-in-law is asur. Afinami kalase asura, so we should say a stepdaughter-in-law is also forbidden. Umina, and then we would say Dain Mina. So since I told you your own daughter-in-law has the penalty of skila, Mahu beskila, Afhinami beskila. So a stepdaughter-in-law would also be beskila. Now that's a change, because everything by the stepdaughters and step-granddaughters, everything over there is sreifa. But if we say Dain Mina, so we learn it out and we take the law with it and say that just like a daughter-in-law is beskila, so the stepdaughter-in-law is also beskila. So the Gemara says, well, this is not going to be a tenable analogy. As we welcome in Michal for our 34th Zoomer of the evening, back at our regular time of 8 o'clock, and Mark, it is noticeable that you're back to us at our regular time. If you wouldn't, I would have probably sent a letter bomb. Says the Gemara. Thank you very much. Says the Gemara. It's really something to come down with my suitcases and unpack my studio and put it up right away. I already had it for Mincha Marav when we learned the Mishnah Yomis. I really thank Hashem. And again, I really thank Hashem for a pleasant flight. I told my wife, after I finished the Daf and the Mishnah Yomis, I went back in my bag. My wife said, what are you doing? So I said, well, I was hoping for an easy flight, so now I'm going to start working on the Chumash here. And really, it was really until the last 20 minutes of the flight, I was able to learn. I'm not such a tzaddik, but I was able to learn. It was really, really very nice. Says the Gemara. So it's not tenable to make this comparison. Lamandam skila chamura, to the one that says that stoning is more chamer than sreifa, so then that's a reason why you can't make this binyan av. You can't make this comparison. Ikela mifrach, you know why your daughter-in-law is forbidden? That's malahu shekain imoy beskila, because his side, if he sleeps with his mother, it's skila. Taima behi, mashenkein, if he sleeps with her mother, it's besreifa, and therefore that's less stringent, and that's the reason why the daughter-in-law is aser and the stepdaughter would not be aser. That's one question. That's one reason why it's not tenable. The Oid, and furthermore, as we welcome him, Naftali Jablin, for our 35th Zoomer of the evening, the Oid, furthermore, Bita b'sreifa b'kalasa b'skila, does that make sense? That if he sleeps with her daughter, his stepdaughter, who is more closely related to him than his stepdaughter-in-law, does it make sense that his stepdaughter would be sreifa and his stepdaughter-in-law would be skila, which is more stringent than sreifa? And, says the Gemara, Hu ba'atzmo yechiach. He himself will dispute. So the Gemara says, well, that's not a kasha, because Hu ba'atzmo yechiach. He himself will disprove you the bitay b'sreifa. If he sleeps with his daughter, it's sreifa, but kalasa b'skila. and his daughter-in-law is skila, even though skila is more chamer. So that's not a kasha, because we see that it's gzeres hakasav, even though we don't understand it. Ella, but here's another reason why the comparison is not tenable. By him, there's no difference between his mother and his daughter-in-law. The mother is skila, and the daughter-in-law is skila. Afhi, so by her also, we shouldn't make a difference between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, stepdaughter-in-law. But now you're telling me the mother-in-law is sreifa and the stepdaughter-in-law is skila. So that shows that it's not a good comparison. Now, even though Lamandiyam is sreifa chamura, according to Mandiyam, that sreifa is more chamer, so you can't say the question that we asked before, how do you learn out from skila, from kalosa, which is skila and is more severe, but mahai kusha loy nidainin, because of this last kasha, you can't make the analogy, because we should say that just like by him, the mother and the daughter-in-law is skila, so we should say it should be the same thing, the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law. But if we're going to say dain mina umina, and that the stepdaughter-in-law is skila, it would be different than the mother-in-law is b'sreifa. Therefore, the analogy is no good. Now that's if you hold dain mina umina. If you hold dain mina v'ukei ba'asra, which means that you learn out that just like the stepdaughter is, just like a daughter-in-law is aser, so the stepdaughter-in-law is also aser, but v'ukei ba'asra, and say, we're welcoming Reb Shenkman for our 36th Zoomer of the evening. Reb Shenkman, let me give him a royal welcome. Reb Shenkman, it's great to have you. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a little bit hard to walk into the middle of the sugya here, but the Gemara is going to, by the way, Rabbi said, the Gemara is going to get easier. Amud Beis is much easier. This Gemara is not for the faint-hearted. I mean, even though Gedalia is bored, he learned it in the morning already, but...
I didn't understand it in the morning, I didn't understand it in the afternoon, I'm having trouble with it now.
You're having trouble with it now also? You want to ask me anything? No? Okay. I'm trying to make it clear. I mean, you learn in the afternoon also?
I listen to someone on the...
Oh, wonderful. Wow. So this is, when you hear it from me, it's already the third time. That's great. That's great. I had people in Borough Park that would come and they would hear me. It wasn't the first time that they listened to me. Jack Warman also. I'm not the first time that he's listening to. He listens to Rabbi Stefanski. Right, Jack? You listen to Rabbi Stefanski, right?
I listen to both equally.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I told you I was very grateful to him when I was in Tveria, and I was by a Kesher Nafshi Shabbaton in Tveria, and I had a black box, and I thought I was fine. I had absolutely no signal, and I didn't know how I would give the Shir Matzah Shabbos from Tveria. I was really, really worried the whole Shabbos. And then he was there. He had a whole studio. He had such a studio. He gave me the key to the room. He said, Rabbi Weiss, my studio is yours. And I had a perfect broadcast that night because he gave me his studio. I'm very makatayv to him. Anyway, he said to me, Rabbi Weiss, you're an icon of the daf. So, you know, I'm around a little longer than him. But his achievements of the Daf Yomi is mind-boggling. Rav Meir Shapiro is quelling the Rabbi Stefanski, Rabbi Borenstein. the levels that they brought the daf to is really stupendous. So anyway, the Gemara says, "Ulamanda amar dun mina v'ukei ba'asra." According to the Mandi Yama, that says that we learn out from Kalasai that just like the daughter-in-law is also, the stepdaughter-in-law should be also, but then v'ukei ba'asra. Then we leave it with the penalty of its own family. And the stepdaughter's side penalty is sreifa. So then we would say that the stepdaughter is besreifa. Ma'u kalasa asura, just like on his side, his daughter-in-law is asur. Afhi kalasa asura, the stepdaughter-in-law is asur. V'ukei ba'asra, but leave it with the law of the stepdaughter's side. Hasamhu the beskila. By him, it's kalasa iskila. Aval hacha besreifa. Kedash kechan be'ima. Like in the case of the wife's mother. So this is not tenable. Lamandiyama skila chamura. According to the Mandiyama, that says that skila is more severe. Ikala mifrach. That you can't compare it. You can't make a binyanav. Because malahu shekaini my beskila. Because by him, the mother is beskila. By her, the mother is besreifa. So therefore, by him, the mother is beskila. That's why the daughter-in-law is aser. Taima behi shema besreifa. The oid, and furthermore, mahu chalakta by bein bitay lekalasai. They made a difference between his daughter and his daughter-in-law. The din is if a man sleeps with his daughter, is burning. Man sleeps with his daughter-in-law, there's stoning. So afi takluk ba bein bita lekalasa. We should have to make a distinction between the stepdaughter and the stepdaughter-in-law, which we don't, because both are besreifa. So therefore, the comparison is not tenable. And even if you say sreifa is more severe, so then you can't ask that you can't learn out from him, because his mother is beskila, that's less stringent than her mother, which is besreifa, so that's not a kasha. But me'ahei kusha lo nidainen. Because it is kasha, it's not tenable, the analogy, because we should say that just like by him there's a difference between the daughter and the daughter-in-law, the daughter is besreifa and the daughter-in-law is beskila, we should say the same thing by her, which is not true, because we would say dain mina v'ukei ba'asra, they would both be besreifa. So now the Gemara takes us on another foray of information, as we welcome in Dr. Block for our 36th Zoomer of the evening. Dr. Block, welcome. Welcome back to Lakewood. And as we see, welcome back to a better signal. Right, Marshall? The signal is a lot better, right? Where is Marshall? I think Marshall zapped out. Says the Gemara, the next thing we're going to research, how do we know that if somebody sleeps with his daughter from a rape, there's sreifa as well? This is one of the cases of sreifa, if he sleeps with his daughter from a rape. So says the Gemara, Ha'amar Abaye kal v'chaymer. It's a kal v'chaymer. Albas bitay onish. He's penalized for his daughter's daughter. Al bitay like kol shechain. Surely for his daughter. So the Gemara says, yeah, but we hold ein einshim and adin. We don't punish from a kal v'chaymer. Says the Gemara, v'chi einshim and adin. So the Gemara offers an interesting insight. The Gemara says this is not a kal v'chaymer strictly, but rather gilui milsa ba'almahu. It's rather a revelation, because the whole relationship of a granddaughter is only through the daughter. And therefore, if the granddaughter is forbidden, the daughter must certainly be forbidden. Rav Amar, Rava says, we have to try to get people muted over here. Okay. Rav Amar, Rava says, remember we learned this out from a series of Gzeirah Shabbos. Amali Reb Yitzchak Ba'avdimi, Asya Heina Heina, Asya Zima Zima. Now, the word Heina is written by his granddaughters. And it's also written by a wife's daughter and granddaughter. So therefore, since by the wife it's a daughter and granddaughter, Bita ubas Bita, so by him also it's a daughter and a granddaughter. Now, but then we don't know the penalty of burning. But that Zima comes to tell you that the penalty is burning. So first, it's a series. Asya Heina Heina, Asya Zima. A third makar for Bitay Me'anusasai. Tani Avua de Rebbe Avin. Lefi Shaloi Lamanu Lebitay Me'anusasai, since we don't have a direct source for a daughter from rape, Chutzrach HaKosav Leimer Ubas Ish Kayen Kiseicha Liznais. Now, it didn't have to say the Vav, Ubas Ish Kayen. It didn't have to say the extra Vav, or it didn't have to say the word Ish. It could have just said Ubas Kayen. Why does it say Ubas Ish Kayen? It's coming to tell you that a man is forbidden with even the daughter of his rape. Oh, but wait a second. By a Bas Kayin, there's an anomaly. If somebody has adultery with a Bas Kayin, she gets Sreifa, but the adulterer gets Chenek. So, Ima Bas Kayin, he besreifa, ve'ein bayala besreifa. We should say, Af bitay me'anisasai, he besreifa, ve'ein bayala besreifa. But her father doesn't get Sreifa, but that's not true. Just like she gets Sreifa, the father gets Sreifa. But if we're going to learn it out from the Bas Kayin, so we should say that there's a difference between the man and the woman. Just like over there, the man gets Chenek and she gets Sreifa. So we should say the same thing over here. Amar Abaya, Amar Kra, where do we say that there's a difference between the Boyel and her? Amakra es aviyahi mechalelas. She is the only one that gets reifa because she disgraces her father. Ma'ashe'en kain over here, it's her father that's disgracing her by sleeping with her. Misha mechalelas es aviyah yatzis, where he sleeps with his daughter from a rape. She'aviyah mechalela, her father profanes her, and therefore has a different halacha. Rava says, I'll tell you a different reason. Bishloima Hasam, in the case of the man that sleeps with a Bas Kayin, she gets reifa because she disgraced the kuna, her father's house. He gets the regular punishment, he gets a death sentence, he gets the regular punishment, which is for adultery, which is strangulation. Bishloima Hasam, apikte medina de Bas Kayin, v'kimta dina de Bas Yisrael. We take the paramar, the man, out of the din of Bas Kayin, and we give him the regular din of Bas Yisrael, where it has adultery, which is chenek. But over here, if we're going to say that when he sleeps with her, we don't give him sreifa, then what should we say? It should be like he's sleeping with an unmarried woman, and we shouldn't give him anything? Hacha, adina the man mukmislay. Remember, he's sleeping with his daughter. She's not a married woman. So you can't say we give the din of adultery. So what are you going to say? Adina de pnuya mikmasla, that like he slept with an unmarried woman, which at best, if he sleeps with an unmarried woman, it would be only malchus. Some say there's no malchus either. There might be a malchus for being for harlotry, but definitely no misa. So the Gemara says, okay, where do we know a warning for a daughter from rape? Remember, there's a penalty phase and a warning phase. Where do we have a warning for a daughter from rape? And by the way, I want to really compliment the Eilam. You know, some people could say, you know what? I need a break from this. I'll come back when the Gemara gets more interesting. And I see that nobody thinks that way. Reuven might come back when it's earlier in the evening, you know, because Reuven gets up very late in the morning. Reuven gets up in the morning around when I go to sleep. But not, by the way, not just Reuven, Irving also. Irving isn't here tonight, right?
I'm here.
Oh, you are here. I'm missing the picture of the bridge. I associate you with the Golden Gate Bridge, Irving.
If the Kohen himself lives with his daughter, is he going to get strafed just like she's going to get strafed?
No.
It still doesn't make a difference.
No, you can't invent something. No, but nice try. So says the Gemara, where do we have a warning for a daughter from rape? Bishloima la'abaya v'rava. It's good according to Abaya Rava. Mehecha de nafkalu einish, from where we learn the penalty. Mehasam nafkalu asara. Since over there it says a lav, so we could learn out the lav from there too. El Tani Avud Rabbi Avin Mai, but according to the Tani Avud Rabbi Avin, now the Tana de Rabbi, the Tana. The Tana the Be'avud, who learns it out from the extra word ish, where does he know a lav? Where does he know a lav? So, Amar Rebbe Ilah, Amar Kra al Techalel es bitcha la'aznaisa. Don't profane your daughter to make her a zayna, to make her a whore, to make her a harlot. Says the Gemara, but that pasuk is telling us something else. Mask Rabbi Yaakov, Achva de Rabbi Achab bar Yaakov, Rabbi Yaakov, the brother of Rabbi Achab bar Yaakov, says, Hayal techalel es bitkol aznaisa la'achi udasa. Does it come for that? Haime baile lekilisanya al techalel es bitkol aznaisa. Don't profane your daughter to make her into a harlot. Yachal b'kayin amei says bitul levi yisrael akas medaber. You might think it means a Kayin who marries his daughter to a Levi and Israel. I might think it's just telling us that if a Kayin marries his daughter to a Levi and Israel, that's profaning the daughter. That because when the Kohanic girl marries a Levi or Yisrael, for the duration of the marriage, she's not allowed to eat truma. So I might think that that's what the pasuk means, that you're mechalel her, you profane her by stripping her of her priestly privileges. No, but that's not what it means. It's talking that it makes her promiscuous. It makes her promiscuous. It makes her a harlot. And that, what it means is b'moiser es bitay shaloi l'shem ishus. If a person gives over his daughter out of wedlock, and, the man pimps his daughter. He acts as a pimp, and you should feel good. He gives her out of wedlock. So it says the Gemara. So you see, it's not talking about bitay mi'anusasai. It's talking about pimping his daughter. Says the Gemara, im kein lemekra al tochel with one lamed, my al techalel with a second lamed, shmami notarte, pimping his daughter, and also allow for bitay mi'anusasai. Va'abaya v'rava, who have already allowed for bitay mi'anusasai, hay al techalel es bitkol as noisa the double lamed, my of delay. What do they do with the double lamed? Amar Rebbe Mani. That's someone who marries off his daughter to an old man. Because since the old man already doesn't have a sexual drive, he's not going to satisfy her, and he's going to drive her to adultery. So don't cause your daughter to live a life of immorality. Because if he's not going to satisfy her, she has a regular libido, and if he's not going to satisfy her because he's an old man, so you're setting her up for disaster. Kedetanya, like we learned in the Brisa, do not refrain your daughter in promiscuity. This is one who marries off his daughter to an old man. Rabbi Kiva Omer, this is a person, and we'll see that this is a person who delays his daughter from marrying because he lives alone, and his daughter cooks for him. His daughter is his maid, makes his bed, goes shopping. So if he's not going to marry her off, and she's already puberty, she already has hormones, it's going to lead her to promiscuity. As the Gemara now tells us, Amar Rav Kahana Mishum Rebbe Akiva, Ein Lecha Ani BiYisrael Ela Rasha Aram. There is no poor man in Yisrael except for a clever, wicked man, V'amashe B'tay Baigeres, one who keeps his daughter in after she's a Baigeres and stops her from getting married. Says the Gemara, Ota Amashe B'tay Baigeres, if he delays his daughter from getting married in order that she should take care of him, Lav Rasha Aram, who is that not a wicked, clever person? Says Gemara, yeah, that's what it means. Amar Abaya Hachi Kamer, Ezel Ani Rasha Aram, because he's a poor man and he doesn't have the money to hire himself a cook and to hire himself a cleaning lady, he's a clever, wicked man. Now, of course, he's clever. He says, no, I didn't find yet the right man. No, you could do better. But the fact is that he has an ulterior motive because while she's there, he has somebody to take care of her. And by the way, Rabbi Isai, this is a problem. This is a problem. There are people that are not in a rush for their last child to get married because they need the child. They got used to the help of the child. And it's a problem. You know, it's an interesting thing. When I dated my first Rebbetzin, so she was a Mezinikel. Miriam Liba, Aleha Shalom, Zichron Lebracha, Zchusi Yagan Aleinu, Zechet Tzedekas Levracha. She was born when her father was 59. The Nazis killed his first wife and child. And she was the Mezinical. She was born when he was 59. So when she dated me, you do the arithmetic, I dated her when she was 19. So her father, 59 plus 19, her father was 78. Her mother had stage 4 ovarian cancer, and her father had a severe heart condition. So when she dated me, she said to me, you know, I'm really very interested in you, but I don't know if I could marry you, because I don't know if I could leave my parents. So Ramesha was alive then, but Ramesha was not well. So I said to her, you know, this is a kasha for a gadol. So on our 4th date, we went to Rapam. That was our date. We made an appointment, and we went to Rapam. We came to his house, and Rapam was in his study, and he said, let me speak to the young lady first. So he spoke to my wife for about 15 minutes, and I was going a little bit out of my mind, what's going to be. And she came down, and she told me that Rapam said, I should tell you it looks good. That's what she told me. So then I went upstairs, and Rapam told me that he told my Kala-to-be that her parents are not going to lose a daughter, but they're going to gain a son. That's what, and the truth of the matter is during our engagement even, I was taking my future in-laws to the doctors, and I remember once my wife taught 2nd grade in Torah V'das. And I remember once substituting her. It's the only time I ever taught elementary school English. I substituted her 2nd grade English in Torah V'das. I remember giving a class on Q words, that the Q has to have a U, and even teaching them some Q words that don't need a U from my Scrabble knowledge. I still remember, we're talking about Rabbi Say over 45 years ago. But anyway, Shelley, you ever heard that story?
I have not.
You see, there's still some stories you don't know.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm all ears.
Anyway, V'amar Rav Kahana Mishum Rabbi Kiva, Havizor min hayoatzcha lefi darkei. Be careful from those that give eitzah for their own agenda. And this is something that sometimes people themselves don't even realize. That's why one of the al-chaitz that we clap is yo'atz nura, for giving bad advice. People give advice, but really they have an agenda. Somebody that marries off his daughter to an old man, or somebody that marries a mature woman to a young boy. Now the young boy doesn't have a sexual drive, and she has full hormones. That's asking for trouble. And one who returns a lost article to a guy, where Kiddush Hashem is not involved. All of Akasav Aimer, Leman Svais Harava Esasmeya, by adding the one that is fully watered to he who is thirsty, Lo Yavai Hashem Sloyach Lai. Hashem will not desire to forgive him. Now, the first 2 cases, the old man is well watered. He has no interest. He has no drive. The daughter is thirsty. And the same thing is the other way around. The woman is thirsty. The B'nai Cotton is well watered because he has no drive yet. And the case of the returning the lost article to the guy, the Jew is thirsty for mitzvahs Hashem. The guy is not. And by returning a lost article even to a guy, when the mitzvah of Hashavas Aveda is to Yidden, it shows that the person is not doing it because Hashem commanded, but rather he's doing it just for a sense of what he thinks is right and wrong. That's not good either. Of course, as the Meiri says, if there's a case of Kiddush Hashem, like what Saba always says, when he was in Kensington and doing Bedika, he found in his attic a chest of coins and gems, and he asked the Bluzhev Rebbe, the previous owner of the house, was a guy, an Italian, and he asked the Bluzhev Rebbe what to do, and the Bluzhev Rebbe told him to return it. And Saba could have used that money. Worked very hard for his dollar. So he went back, he asked the Italian if he was missing anything, and the Italian said, "Oh, don't ask." And he gave it back to him. Saba said that all the years that he lived in Kensington, people used to take their hats off to him. They used to let him go ahead in line. That's a massive Kiddush Hashem. Right? The famous story that went viral about the man who found the money in the piano. Right? He actually was invited to the Aguda convention to tell the story. Anybody remember how much money it was? It was like $60,000 or something like that. And he returned the money. That's
a Rebbe from Waterbury who found it in a desk. He bought it on Craigslist.
Right.
It was more than $90,000.
$98,000.
$98,000. Mi kamcha Yisrael go yechad baretz. Mi kamcha Yisrael. And a Rebbe, believe me, the Rebbe wasn't, rolling in dough. That was a big Mesiras Nefesh for that Rebbe.
Ruby Sharon also had the same story. Ruby found that from a guy. His son found money there. He asked Rav Moshe what to do. Rav Moshe told him to give it back. Yeah,
okay, but Ruby Shron has a little bit less of a temptation than the Rebbe. Ruby Shron has a few kopecks of his own.
Right. At that time, I don't think he was that wealthy.
Okay, very good. I'm not taking anything away from Ruby Shron. Maybe that's why he became Ruby Shron.
I used to deal with the Americans. One guy, his name was Andre. He had 5 supermarkets. And the net stores, key food, they used to, from upstairs, send down a basket with the papers, with the money, and then send it down. I count the money, I see I send it back up to her, but she opens up the mouth. Instead of tens, she gave me hundreds. And then they had another one on Church Avenue. She said, I wouldn't know. I says, I will say, keep quiet, shut up, and say thank you.
Yeah.
I doubt they knew me. I don't tell my Bubba straight, got to be straight with a guy. That's my father told me too. You cannot fool a guy.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. Saba made a lot of Kiddush Hashems in his lifetime. So says the Gemara, what, a cotton is not allowed to marry a woman? Meisvei. You should love your wife like your own body. You should honor her more than his body. Now that you have to know that this is one up on V'ahavta l'reach kamocha. You should honor her more. Normally we say chayecha kodim, but in the ksuva we say ana okir, ana eflach v'okir. I will honor my wife, which means that you spend more money on clothing for her and finery for her than you would for yourself. And somebody who raises his sons and daughters in the straight path. Yeshara means straight, right? The straight path is the middle path, like the cab driver. You ask him, where should we go? Yashar, yashar. Not to the right, not to the left. The balanced, normal way. They used to say that Rav Moshe was the gain of normalcy. V'amasiyan samach lepirkan, and if you marry them near puberty, all of akasav aimer v'yadata kishalom alecha, you will know that there's peace in your tent. V'kadata navech, you will visit your home. V'loy sechta, and you won't sin. So you see that you can marry off a young boy. Says the Gemara, samach lepirkan shani. If he's almost by puberty, then already he almost has a drive. That's okay. Indeed, before, when it says in Pirkei Avos ben Shmeina Esrei l'chuppah, that's only later on, when nechlashu ativin. The Gemara says in Kiddushin that they used to say, if I would have married him off earlier, by Arbisa, which is the beginning of the 14th year, which is at 13, it would have been even better. Then there would be no time for sinful thoughts. Tanrabanan. Somebody that loves his neighbors, and brings his relatives close, and one who marries his niece. Chazal say that you love your brother, and you love your sister even more than your brother. So if you love your sister, it's likely you'll love her daughter, so that's good for Shalom Bayis. And you give a seller to a poor person when he's tight. All of akasav aimer os tikra v'Hashem yana. You'll call and Hashem will answer. Now, if you remember, we learned yesterday. I told you we had a machlokes and we discussed it even before the Gemara taught it to us. Here, the Gemara says that if a man sleeps with his mother-in-law, so also him, the esen. So esen usually means them. Hen is the plural of the feminine. So, says the Gemara, the pasuk says if a man sleeps with a woman and her daughter. So Rabbi Shmuel says, Oisoi ve'es achas mehem, Divrei Rabbi Shmuel. It means him and one of them, because he sleeps, the daughter is his wife, and the woman is the mother-in-law. So we burn him and one of them. We don't burn his wife. His wife didn't do anything wrong, but the mother-in-law for sleeping with him. We'll see Rabbi Shmuel says, as hen in Yevani, in Greek, is one. Rabbi Kiva Aimer, Oisai ve'eshteyen. Him and both of them. So my beinayu, Amar Abaya mashmo is dorshimi beinayu, because Rabbi Kiva says the pasuk is talking about when it says isha bita, it means a mother-in-law and the mother of the mother-in-law. So we burn both of them. Esen is the plural. Abaya mashmo is dorshimi beinayu. Rabbi Shmuel Saba oisai ve'esein is also it's a wife and her mother. So him, the es achas mem. Es hein means the mother-in-law. Shekem b'loshin Yevani, in Greek, kairin la achas hina. One is called hein. I told you many times, the reason why hein is one is because both hey and nun stand apart. Aleph has a partner tes equals 10. Beis and ches equals 10. Gimel and Zayin equals 10. And Dalet and Vav equals 10. Hey is alone. Hey and Hey is 10. The same thing is true. Yud and Tzadi is 100. Chaf and Pei is 100. Lamed and Ayin is 100. And Mem and Samach is 100. Nun is alone. Nun plus Nun is 100. So that's why Hein is 1. While the Aim Chamaisa, and the mother of the mother-in-law, he learns that out Midrashas. He learns it out from Midrash. While Rabbi Kiva Savar Oisoi ve'eshein is Oisoi ve'eshtein, because Isha Bita means the mother-in-law and the mother of the mother-in-law. The Aim Chamaisa Yacha Ksiva. And Eim Chamois is written beferish. It means the mother and the mother of the mother-in-law. Rav Amar Rava says no. Both of them say that the pasuk means his wife and her mother. The question is, are you chayiv for a mother-in-law after the wife dies? Rav Amar Chamoisei la'achamisi ikebenayu. If there's an isser of a mother-in-law after the wife dies, Rabbi Yishmael savar Chamoisei la'achamisi b'sreifa. Even after the wife dies, he's not allowed to sleep with his mother-in-law. That's what it means. Osov es hain. Even if it's just one of them, even the wife already died. Rabbi Kiva savar es hain is in the plural, that you have to have the wife alive to be chayiv for the mother-in-law. If the wife died, then it's just isura ba'alma, just an isur. The elu haneragin, and the following get beheaded. Mizbari. Okay, and I just want you to pick up your head a little bit. The elu hain, very handsome head. It should be attached to your body for a long time. Don't you like Barry's perm custom? Isn't it nice? Barry, are you scheming some costumes?
Not this year.
No, not this year. All right, Mirza Hashem, next year you should be gesund enough to make plans.
Amen. It's a Friday. It's very difficult.
Yeah, well, I figured it would be Good Friday, but anyway, the Elu HaNerogim, the following are beheaded: Haroitzeach, a murderer, the Anshe Iranidachas, and the people of the subverted city. Roitzeach, now let's talk about a murderer. Roitzeach shehikes re'eu be'evan be'barzel. If a murderer hits someone with a stone or iron, or he holds him down in the water so that he can't get out, or he holds him in a fire and he can't escape, and he burns or he drowns, if he pushes him in the water or pushes him into the fire, but the person could get out, and he dies, potter. If he incites a dog after him, or she incites a snake after him, but then the dog goes on its own and kills him, the snake goes on its own and bites him, and poisons the snake, potter. But if he takes the fangs of the poisonous snake and sticks it into the person's hand, then he's chayiv. Rabbi Yehuda, the Chachamim say even then the snake has to on its own inject the poison, and therefore what he did is only considered a grama, and therefore he still doesn't get executed. Now, it says in the Torah that it says in the Torah by both Evan and by Eitz, Yad, which means that it has to be big enough that he could hold it in his hand. It doesn't say that by iron. So we welcome in Daniel Rosenberg. Says the Gemara, Amar Shmuel, Mipnei ma'aloi nemra yad bebarzel. Why doesn't it say yad by iron? It says yad by Evan. It says yad by Eitz. She'abarzel meimis bekolshu. That's because by the rock, by the wood, we have to assess, was there enough to cause the death? Iron, even the smallest amount, when it's aimed, as we will see, at a vital organ, could kill even in the smallest amount. Shabarzel Memis Bekolshu. Tanya Nami Hochi. Rabbi Yamigolu Yudul Afni Misha Amavayalam. Shabarzel Memis Bekolshu. Iron kills with the smallest amount. Lefika Chloinitna by share. Vahani Mili Debarze Mirvis. That's only where it's aimed at a vital organ, at the heart or at the neck, by the esophagus, by the foot, by the windpipe. V'kovash olav l'seichamayim, or he holds him down into the water. So the Gemara says, Reisha Ravusa Kamashmalan, V'sefer Ravusa Kamashmalan. The first part, holding him into the water and holding him into the fire, has a chiddush, and the second part, where pushed him into the water and pushed him into the fire, that he's potter, also has a chiddush. Reisha Ravusa Kamashmalan, Afalgav Delavi Udachvai. Even though he didn't put him in the water, he didn't put him in the fire. But Kavan the Ein Yachal Lalis Misham, since he holds him there and he can't escape, Omeis Kayev. Sefer Ravusa Kamashmalan, that even if he pushes him in the water and pushes him in the fire, Afagav the Dachvai, Kavan the Yachal Lalis Misham, since he could escape, Omeis Potter. So the Gemara now says, interestingly, Kavash Minalan. How do we know if you hold the person in that you're chayiv? Amar Shmuel, the Amar Kra, the pasuk says, Oy be'eva. Now, the lashon of the pasuk is, Oy be'eva hiko b'yadai vayamas. If with enmity he hits him with his hand and he dies, mois yumas. Now, it would make more sense for the pasuk to say im be'eva hiko. Why does it say oi? Why does it switch to oi? So the oi is coming to add another case. The amakra oi be'eva, the rabbi says amatzamtzeh. This comes to include that if he limits his escape, tzamtzeh means he makes it tight. He limits his escape from getting out of the water or getting out of the fire, that he also gets a capital punishment. Okay, Rabbi Isai, we will stop over here.